Hello, and thank you so much for joining this session of learning how to activate your brand and to harness AI-powered tools to increase your online visibility and elevate your messaging. I'm Timothy Chau, and I'll be your workshop host today in this online session. And before I begin, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I'm currently a creative technologist and strategist at a 4A advertising agency. I have more than 8 years experience in marketing and media. I have worked in brands, television, and ad agencies in the past. In the past, I'm also a content creator where I've given workshops and shared sessions on emerging technology. So you can imagine that there is a process of content creation in there. There's a process of coming up with strategies on how to use emerging tools and so on. So that's my background. So let us begin. I think there's a few major shifts when it comes to AI. The first thing that I think we can all agree is that tools are becoming more conversational. With large language model powering different type of chat experiences, you're going to see more and more tools that you can have a conversation with them, and then they will help create an output for you. And another thing is that ideas could now be generated. If you really look in the past, AI has already been here for quite some time. For example, if you're on Netflix, you look at a video and it shares, you look at your home screen and it shares recommended videos. That is AI working behind the scene, trying to look at your preferences and then recommending certain videos to you. But the only thing that has really changed in the past is generative AI, where AI is now able to receive prompts and generate something that is totally new, something that could be a remix of something in the past, and generate something that it has reference in the data set. So with this in mind, I wanted to use a lead-in before I go to the practical session. Do you know that actually many large language models that power a lot of these conversational AI tools from big technology companies are actually open source? For example, on Google, you have Gemma, but now they're pushing Gemini and Gemini Pro. You have from Meta, Llama 2. A lot of these large language models, the model that you use to train the AI is open source, so there's a lot of tools being built on top of it. Well, which brings me to the question, and that is, could it be alerted that actually it is not that these large language models tools that are, or large language models that are the most value generating. Instead, could data be the most important value factor of all? Because you need to provide data to these large language models so that they can keep learning and keep improving. And that's why in the beginning of this generative AI trend, I would say, there is going to be more and more open source models, and then people can build on it, people can use them, and then the AI will become more powerful in processing data. So in this workshop, what we want to do is that we want to learn how to summarize and understand data using Poe. And then we want to use the information that we've gotten from Poe to repurpose it into other different type of content that you can use for brand activation and marketing. So we will be introducing Canva to you and also Adobe Firefly. So without further ado, what we'll do is that we'll use Adobe Acrobat Reader or Poe to retrieve insights from a PDF, and then we'll use Canva to create a post framework. And then finally, we will use Firefly to generate some footages or some content or some images for the post. So let me show you the tools. So this is Poe. Poe is, the reason why I chose this tool is that because all of these tools are accessible here in Hong Kong. And these tools have some certain terms and conditions that allow you to use, under certain criteria, the content generated for commercial use, which is something that I will be covering in the Q&A session later. So let me begin with Poe. So if you look at Poe, Poe is a platform where it is basically ChatGPT, but being run under Core, the company. It uses the open API, but at the same time uses other different type of APIs to have conversations with large language model. So I just want to show you, without explaining too much of the technical details, I want to show you how you can summarize a PDF. So to prepare this workshop, what happened is that I have a PDF that I was given by Asia Charity Services. And here is actually the PDF that I was given. In this PDF, it basically summarizes all these survey results of what charities and NGOs have when it comes to generative AI. What is the perception, are they currently using it, and so on. So you can see that there is around 19 pages right now. And sometimes you might not have the time to really read through the whole PDF. So what you can do is that under Poe, if you go to Poe, what you can do is that you can begin a new chat with a AI chatbot. So what you can do is that, hello, I am currently a social media marketing professional. I need help to extract insights from a PDF to create maybe a carousel post on LinkedIn, for example. So one of the really important thing when using AI is to give them more context. What are you trying to do? What is the role that they should be doing? Right? So now the AI is saying that, hello, I'm happy to help extract insight, which is great. So in order to upload a file, you can press the plus button in the lower right hand side. And then what you can do is that you can go to your file location. So here my file location is at desktop. Let me move this window. And then what I did is that under desktop, I click on the PDF file. Here's the PDF file. And then I submit it to Chau. And then it takes some time for it to look at it. And then it already really quickly summarizes some of the questions being asked and so on. You don't really have to go through the whole PowerPoint. Now you can just share it with the AI, ask it to summarize it. And then this is a way of summarizing it in a query format. But what if I want to summarize it into a summary format? So can you summarize it in one paragraph within maybe 200 words? Let's see if AI can do that. So now you can see that AI can basically take data, for example, in a PDF, and I summarize it into a different type of format, which makes it easier to read, right? Out of 64 participants is interested in this and so on, right? And then there are concerns on data privacy. But if I don't want to read a paragraph, what you can do as well is that ask AI to, can you help summarize this in point form? So with this PowerPoint, this data, you give it this large language model to digest, and then there's so many ways that you can make the presentation easier and to inspire you, right? Because by this way you can see, okay, what other content I can create. So when I see this, I can see that, oh, actually, interestingly, you can see, oh, concerns expressed by NGO included security, data privacy, and so on. So what I can do now is that, for example, I want to create a carousel post. I can say that, hey, I want to create a carousel post, maybe with 5 images, okay? Can you tell me the 3 concerns from NGOs and charities in using generative AI? And share the image title copy as well. So now you can see that, okay, I have asked the AI to generate 3 top concerns from the PDF, right? Which kind of makes sense, security and data privacy, right? Oh, but image title copy, protecting your data and ensuring security and privacy in generative AI, reluctant to learn tools, additional costs. So now I have a idea, but you can see that the image title copy is not really relevant. So maybe, because what I'm thinking of right now is creating a carousel post with the title of security and data privacy, right? Do you know, blah, 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 blah. So that is like an insight. So what you can do is really just talk to the AI what you want. So for image title copy, can we rephrase it like an insight from the PDF? And let's see what it does. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's try again. You have to give them context. Right? Oh, do you know that it's NGOs and charities are concerned about security, right? And then let's see if it works. So sometimes it doesn't work, but can you give me some statistics? Maybe that would be helpful on NGO difficulties in using AI. Okay, so now I cannot find it, right? So sometimes there are some limitations, which is makes sense. So throughout this whole experience, it's really about learning the limitations and what are the possibilities of AI. So we've learned that we are able to ask the AI to generate really briefly, like a summary, and then also to have some highlight of okay, what are the things that can be done and what cannot be done. And I think one of the reasons why the data was not able to be retrieved by AI is that let's go to the PDF. Okay, you can see that in this PDF, if it's text, the AI can immediately capture this. Okay, so there's this thing that you really need to know. Oh, it's 64 participants, which is immediately highlighted here. 64 participants. But when it comes to these data, one of the difficulties that Paul might have is that when you upload this PDF, because this table is actually in image format. So because it is in image format, it basically means that it is unable to process it. So so that's why you can see that a lot of these insights that is being provided is very text driven, as you can see here. So these are some limitations that you need to know. So when you upload a PDF in the future with some data and insight, make sure that you upload data that is in text format. The way that you can see whether it's in text format is that when you highlight it, you can basically highlight it instead of in image format. So hopefully this is helpful. Okay, without further ado, always only one way. There's a lot of prompting that you can continue to do to see if you can retrieve your result. If it doesn't work the first time, keep prompting, provide more details of what you want to share with the AI chatbot. So the next tool I want to recommend is Canva. So Canva is a tool, it's a design tool that is online, or you can also download it as an app. So it provides you with a lot of templates. And then just last year, a year ago, they introduced a generative AI feature within the Canva tool, which is a Magic Studio. Within Canva, you could already have access to generative AI tools for design, for presentation, for videos, and even it can help you write things using OpenAI's API, if I understand it correct. As you can scroll down, you can see all of the AI tools that are being used in the app marketplace as well. So if you only could choose one tool for design, I would highly recommend Canva if you are a charity group or NGO. And the reason for that being is that you can access it for free. So usually when you use this tool, you need to pay a subscription cost. But if you are a nonprofit, they actually have this program that you can use Canva for free, and then you can apply to use these tools. It's the same as Poll. Poll right now in general is free unless you want additional functions, but simple summary asking questions also works for free. So that's why this is being introduced. So within Canva, let's say I wanted to create a carousel post. What I can do is that I can go to home and then it says for you, okay? And then I say, I want to create a carousel post for a charity, okay? So you can see these are templates. These are also template. Here, these are suggested. So these are some AI suggested ideas. So I don't think these make sense, right? So what I'll do is that I'll search. And then Magic Design, which is the AI portion of Canva, will be using AI to generate some of the hopefully best result for this, but it seems that it's not able to do it. But then it doesn't matter. You still have other templates that you can see in the bottom. So say for example, if I look at some of these templates, if I think, oh, how to create this one looks pretty nice, I can click into this and then customize this. So the thing about AI tools is it's not 100% as of this moment. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's why there's a beta button on top of it, as you can see. There's a beta, but you can still use these tools, and I'll show you how. So here's the carousel post that we can see. This is the page 1, page 2, page 3, right? So it's very similar to what we want to do. And in order to, what we can do is that we can extract the insight from this poll, right? So the first one is, okay, what are the concerns? Oh, security and data privacy. Generated content is really a blend of human input and also AI helping, empowering you. So it's never really about, oh, AI is going to replace human, right? You can see a lot of mock-ups or a lot of videos that show, oh, it's very impressive. It is impressive indeed. But ultimately, there is a human supervision that you need when it comes to AI, especially when it comes to creative. So here, okay, what we can do is that we can paste security and data privacy. And then here, we come back to here, right? Oh, okay, so some of the concerns with security, data privacy. So we can see, okay, let's try and explore, right? It's a lot of trial and error. You can paste here, protecting your data and security. And what you can do is that the really cool thing is that Magic Write, which is the AI empowered version of rewriting your copy, is embedded here. So you can click Magic Write, and then maybe you can say rewrite, summarize, make it more fun, more formal. So I would say, oh, let's try rewrite this to make it more interesting. Okay, securing your data, upholding security and privacy, and generative AI. So what we can do, example, like why, okay, maybe let's do this again. We can do why should you join our workshop, right? And then it looks meh, so let's try having Magic Write to help, right? Reasons to attend our workshop, interesting. Or you can continue to rewrite it so that it gives you more inspiration, so you can find a copy. I attend our workshop, rewrite it. Yeah, as you can see. You can change it to more formal. So basically it goes back to the previous why our workshop. More fun. Why bother with our workshop? So you can see with AI and power tools, you can now have more ideas that you can generate, even on Canva. And then over here, for example, what I can do is that, because there's some sort of human input that we can do, right? So if you look at the PowerPoint, you can see, this is a concern, right? You can say, we noticed that many NGOs and charities have concerns on adopting generative AI due to security and data privacy issues. In this workshop, we will have experts to address these concerns. Then it looks okay, so you can continue to use Magic Write to rewrite it to make it maybe more interesting. Now, many NGOs and charities have expressed concerns about incorporating generative AI our upcoming workshop. So it makes it more interesting, right? So there's so many ways that you can use generative AI embedded in these tools. So another thing that we can do is that, for example, this is an interesting image, but I want to change it to be a more illustration style. So another tool I want to introduce to you is Firefly, which is from Adobe. Firefly is a tool that comes with a lot of generative AI features for the Adobe ecosystem. You have text to image, basically you can type a prompt, it generates an image. You have generative fill, which basically you mask something, you type a prompt, it generates accordingly, and we skin it, right? So this is actually very helpful. For example, you have a photo, and then that photo, someone walks by, a good photo, okay? Someone walks by, you don't want them to be there, you can now mask them, and say remove this person, and then you can just remove it seamlessly. And then there's other different type of tool features and functions. Yeah, make sure you go to this website and explore. So I want to show you an example of how we can generate an image, right? So say for example, and also one of the really cool things is that a lot of people might not know how to write prompts, but in a lot of platforms like this, for example, Firefly, you can see that when I go to text to image on the web browser version, you can see other people's work, right? You can see how people are writing these prompts, how they are showing the creativity. Well, when you mouse over, you can already see the words, right, of the prompts. A planet in space. So now I can duplicate that prompt, right? So that is pretty cool. Okay, back to our use case. What we wanted to do is that we have a post. I want to change the image to a bunch of people happy illustration style. So what you can do is that here in the prompt section, you can say an illustration of people attending a workshop being happy, right? And then let's see what happens. So when you hit enter, it will basically generate the prompt. And what you can also do is that you can continue to polish this prompt. Right now we're using the model Firefly 2, okay? And you can see it looks pretty nice, right, on first glance, but of course it might not be perfect. As you can see, it's not like as perfect as an illustration style, right? You have some weird images. So this is something that you have to be careful as well. But regardless, we can also change this content image style. For example, we can change it to a photo style. But if I do it a photo style, I will change the prompt to a photo of people attending a workshop. Really happy, right? And there's also a suggestion section here where it shows you some of the suggested prompts, and you can see if you want to use it or not. And then at the bottom, what you can do is that you can also upload an image of a style that you like, and then it will basically try to understand a style and generate accordingly. And in the bottom, there's different type of effects that you can add into it so that it polishes the image. So technically what happened is that what you see right now is that you insert a prompt, which is the subject, and then when you select the effect, behind the scene, it actually adds that effect prompt on top of to your prompt so that it makes it like, okay, this subject in the style of bouquet, effect, layered paper, and so on, right? So you can select a bunch of style, generate it, and then you can change the color, the tone, and so on. So it's very difficult to share everything in a short period of time, but you can see that there's a lot of customization that you can continue to use. Some exclusion as well. So you can see it generates really nice visuals, right? So say I like this image, what I can do is that I can download this, okay? And then you have to agree to the TNC. So when we talk about AI's safety and stuff like that, big tech companies, what they're doing is that they're trying to build metadata into generated images. For example, for Adobe, then we have content credentials, which we apply to know that this was generated with AI. And then content credentials would note that the creation used a reference image. So continue. So now I downloaded the image on download. And then what I can do is that I can open this image. Let me open the image. Here it is. So here's the image. I can paste it and replace it, right? So it's that easy. You can use AI in different tools and then put it in back and forth. So anyways, this is very boring. So let's change it back to maybe an interesting copy. So sometimes when it doesn't work, you might need to change it a little bit, right? Difficulties that NGOs and charities face when using generative AI. So the human element is that it might not have to be, it should be like, it might not have to be everything AI. There's a human element to it. For example, challenges. The reason why I add this is that this is actually a nice hook, right? A hook that will make people want to watch your document. What are the challenges encountered by charities and NGO? And then they will swipe left, yes, to see your content, right? And then in the end, we can add, okay, join our workshop now, in the end. So that is the human element there that AI cannot tell you, but comes from your experience in creating content and marketing as well. All right, so going back to our presentation deck, we basically were able to use 3 tools like Poe to summarize the content and to extract insights, to use Canva to create a post framework that you can see, which is a carousel post, and use Firefly to generate additional images for that post. The next thing is that I hope the biggest takeaway, besides the tactical way, where the tactical way is really about trial and error and having to really get your hands dirty to use these tools, I want you to take away from this workshop a time frame approach to AI. Because what we really look at briefly today is a now time frame, right? What we can do now. What we can do now as an NGO and charity is to try and error, use different type of tools, see which tool works to your company, what current workflow, which one can help shorten time. So there is this part of trial and error, right? Testing the tools and using them to create things more efficiently. But the near approach is that when you really look at generative AI, it's really about how to incorporate this into our current workflow, our marketing processes, so that it can empower the people who are creating things and use the time to do something else, right? Do a feasibility check, talk to people in your marketing communications team, or if you are part of the marketing communications team, think about your current workflow. How do you create content? And then understand, okay, when we create content, these are the places, these are the tools that we are currently using. Maybe generative AI can play a role in them. And then add AI tools to streamline them. And finally, one of the really helpful thing about AI is that you have these large language models, and each large language model could be trained on your company data. So if you do have additional resources, you can start having like maybe a solutions architect to help you integrate these company data with large language models to facilitate your marketing and communications. A simple example of this is that, say for example, you have a website, and then maybe you can feed the data of this website to a large language model, OpenAI, like ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT will read this information, and then it will be able to create a chatbot, so people can talk with that chatbot, and then ChatGPT will basically use the information you supply to them into, and then become a chatbot for your website and provide the relevant information. This is a way to think about it. Technically, it is also doable on Poll if you are interested to explore more. Actually, under Poll, you can create your own bot. And then you can actually say, oh, your role, and then, okay, you can submit knowledge source. It could be a Word document of the information on your website, the information about your NGO, and then this chatbot will basically use that information to have a conversation with people asking the questions. But this workshop, unfortunately, I won't be covering this, but it's something that you can definitely Google or ask AI about. So hopefully this is a helpful time-based approach towards AI for your company from a strategic level. And moving on, I know that there's a lot of tools out there, right? There's so many different tools. Sometimes it could be really confusing. But one thing that I want you to take away today is that don't worry, because AI tools are going to come to you. Big companies, big tech companies are going to roll out more and more AI first tools, okay? So an example of this is that I just show you PDF today, right? I show you PDF. PDF, in the past, you cannot have a conversation with it, right? But now, just a few months ago, it's just in February, I don't know where you're watching this, but February 2024, they came out with AI Assistant Beta. So AI Assistant Beta is like ChatGPT being built into this PDF in Acrobat. So you can already have a conversation with your PDF. And this is being given by Adobe. So you can see the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, more and more, it's gonna become more conversational, which is the first point that we talk about. And what is even much better than the example that we saw in Chau is that it even gives you reference, so you can click into it, and then it goes to these references. But similar to the previous example, one of the biggest concern is that if you have data, make sure that these data are text data so that it could read instead of image, okay? As I mentioned, if you're an NGO, you can download Canva. Hopefully this is helpful. Here's a Q&A session, but since this is online, I will raise some discussions that I had during the offline session. One of the biggest discussion that I had is that, oh, can I use this AI tool, okay? What are the copyright issues and so on, the data and so on, the data security. So when it comes to generating content, my only rule of thumb is to really read the terms and condition, okay? Really read the terms and condition. And then say, for example, Adobe Firefly, okay? Just go to Google, search Adobe Firefly, generative AI, terms and condition. What you can do is that you can look at here, and then it says that, oh, you can actually use this for commercial use. But things in AI changes very frequently, right? So you really have to, from time to time, double check if the terms and conditions still allow you to use that word for commercial usage. For example, in Adobe Firefly, it says that in general, you can use output from generative AI commercially, right? However, Adobe designates that the product or elsewhere that a beta version of generative AI feature cannot be used commercially, then the generated output from that beta feature for personal use and cannot be used commercially. So there is that differentiation that you have to make as a human being, that you need to know, okay, and also read the lines closely, right? If there's some beta feature that says, oh, you cannot use this commercially, then don't use that commercially, right? So for example, Firefly 2, right? So it shows you the latest updates to the latest February update. Anyways, just make sure you meet these T&Cs. So it might not be Firefly that you're looking at. It could be Canva, right? So Canva, it actually gives you some acceptable guidance on how you should use it, right? Don't mislead people, don't do this and that. And then there's a lot of disclaimer because AI is still in its very early stages, right? Say, okay, content co-created with AI product. You may publish first-party written content, a book created in part with AI under the following conditions. So there are conditions. You should not represent AI-generated content as being wholly generated by you, right? So you use Canva, you use the AI feature, make sure that you let people know that AI is being used here. So transparency is really important when using AI content. So that's it. And then in terms of data privacy, there is also a discussion in the offline workshop. What I would say is that a lot of big tech companies are really rolling out the AI capabilities. And for example, Microsoft is rolling out Copilot. So when it comes to data security, because a lot of these big companies, they do have compliance, they do have the brand reputation that they have to protect. Usually, they will have clear T&C on how data is being accessed. And for example, if you're talking in Microsoft Teams, with Microsoft access to that data, usually they will have it. So it's much better to wait for these big tech companies to roll out generative AI feature than use these tools instead of use a bunch of tools by unknown developers that nobody heard of and something that is from a Google search, right? So I think that would be hopefully a helpful guidance. To be honest, there's really no one size fits all because in the NGO and charity industry, there's so many different use cases. You can't really have a answer that fits all. So ultimately, if all else fails, I would suggest you to ask the AI, right? Just explore, take what they say with a grain of salt. Sometimes AI could hallucinate. AI hallucination means that sometimes they might generate something that is not true. They might make up references and sources. So always verify, right? But now that you have a tool that is so helpful that you can talk with, if you do have questions, I highly suggest that you can ask the AI themselves. So hopefully this was a helpful session for all of you, especially for those of you that have never used Pro Canva. There is indeed a learning curve, but these tools, just take the time to understand it, learn it, at least get your hands dirty. It's a fun experience using generative AI tools because there's so many ideas that you can generate. And it's a fun thing to have a conversation with machine and create something together. So biggest takeaway, I hope you remember, is to don't be afraid to try different tools, use a time-based approach to use these tools. Don't FOMO, don't fear of missing out of any of these tools. Wait for the big companies to have some sort of tools. Make sure the T&Cs are clear on what you can do and what you cannot do. And then try to follow these, not try, but follow these T&Cs so you can at least protect yourself in this space that is relatively new, because in a lot of countries, the regulations might not be that specific and clear about generative AI work, but they do have copyright work that you can look at. But you do need to find someone with a legal background to ask that. So hopefully this helps you, gives you the tools and empower you to activate your brand and to elevate your messaging. Thank you.